talk later, no problem.
Okay, he's on.
Okay, so let's go. We're on to cover tonight. Parshas Tetzaveh. Although we don't have a chumash, it says it begins V'ata Tetzaveh. Whose name is not mentioned at all in Parshas Tetzaveh? Moshe Rabbeinu. Normally it should have said Vaydaber Hashem and Moshe Lemar. Hashem said to Moshe, but it doesn't begin that way. It leaves it out completely. The Baal HaTurim, famous Baal HaTurim, he says that Moshe Rabbeinu next week by the Chet HaEgel said to Hashem, either you forgive the Jewish people or erase me from the book that you wrote. So even though Hashem forgave the Jewish people, but because Moshe said it, you have to be very careful what you say. Even things that you don't mean, even things that you say that don't necessarily come true, has an effect. So Hashem said to him, okay, I'm not going to erase you from the entire Torah, but from the Parsha before Kisisa, I'm going to erase you. The Baal HaTurim says, I mean, they talk about the Baal HaTurim, they mention twice Hashem praises Moshe. Twice in the Torah, Hashem talks about the greatness of Moshe. One time was by Miriam. It says Moshe is the most humble person on the face of the earth. The second time is before he died. Lo kam Yisrael k'Moshe. Oh, there was nobody as great as Moshe. The Torah goes into Moshe. So the Meforshim bring down that in this week it's also a praise of Moshe. Because you see how great Moshe was. He was willing to sacrifice everything. All his honor, all his kavod. He was willing to have his name erased from the Torah in order for the Jewish people to be forgiven. So we see the greatness of Moshe. Now, they say that Tetzaveh has a lot of hints to Moshe's name. For example, Tetzaveh always falls out right around Moshe's yahrzeit. His yahrzeit was this past week. Zayin Odor, Moshe's birthday and his death. That's why Haman was so happy when it fell out on another, because he figured, bad luck for the Jews, Moshe died. Moshe was born. The Tzav is all about the Big Day Kahuna. Who was the Kohen Gadol? Aaron. So Moshe didn't think his name should be mentioned. Asher, Misifracha Asher, because after Asher is 501, the Tzav is 501. But some people say that the Tzav has 101 psukim. And at the end of the Tzav, they give you one word that equals 101 as a hint to the Parsha. What is that word? Michael. Because Michael is 101. So they say that Hashem said to Moshe, no problem, Moshe, I'll forgive the Jewish people, but I'm going to send my malach to be with you. I'm not going to be with the Jewish people directly. And Moshe said, no angels. We don't need angels. Either you come or we're not going anywhere. So Hashem sent Michael, and Michael came to Moshe and says, I'm reporting for duty. And Moshe said to him, leave, I don't want you. And Moshe chased Michael away and said, either Hashem comes with us or we're not going, no angels. And Michael left. Moshe chased him away. And he did not come back for all 40 years they were in the desert. All 40 years. The first time Michael came back was with Yehoshua. Right before the battle with Yericho, Amalek came and Yeshua saw him. It was Michael. Michael came back only after Moshe died. During the 40 years in the desert, there was Hashem and there was Moshe, no angels, no Michael. So I found that to be very, very interesting, how Moshe was that powerful. There were 8 Big Day Kahuna. The Kohen Gadol wore 8 garments. All 8 garments forgave different avedot.
Yes.
Okay? Do you know the avedot they forgave?
Yeah.
Okay, that's
the long dress was for Lashon Hara.
Okay, so you know the me'il. The me'il had little bells on the bottom of it that made sounds, like the mouth makes sounds, and that was mechaper for Lashon Hara. Correct. What about the shirt, the ketonet? It was, since they tore Yosef's ketonet, his shirt, and they pretended they killed him, so the ketonet is mechaper for shfichat damim, for murder, by accidental murder. The pants, michnasayim, what does that forgive? The pants are for tzniut, so it forgives arayot, sins of arayot. The mitznefet, the hat, you judge a person by their hat. What does that forgive? Ga'ava. Ga'ava.
Because it's going gadol when you put the light in it.
The avnei, the belt that they wore, this big belt around their waist. What did that forgive? For bad thoughts.
Bad thoughts?
Bad thoughts.
I want to wear that.
I know. That's why Hasidim wear a gartel. A gartel is like a little belt that they wore before they daven. Imagine, you can wear a belt that forgives any bad thoughts that you have. That would be a very busy belt for you, right?
Yeah. Get up with three
Very
more belts.
busy belt. The Choshen. What did the Choshen forgive?
What is
Injustice. That means if
Well,
if it didn't, because, right, the Choshen, like Choshen Mishpat, it stands for justice, so injustice. The tzitz, the gold bar,
Yeah.
what did that forgive? Azus Metzah, brazeness, chutzpah. And the ephod, which was like like an apron that held the Choshen, that was mechaper for avoda zora, for idol worship. Okay? Now, let's begin. This week is Purim. Wednesday is Tani Esther.
what time?
What time? It starts in the morning
5.
and it ends around 6:30 at night.
At 5 o'clock morning eat.
Yeah, you probably still have to check out early. Right, but it's not a long fast. The only difference is that when the fast is over at 6:30, we don't break the fast. We do Megillat Esther first.
Yes.
5 o'clock morning eat.
You probably could still eat. I would have to check.
Если вы ночью
What?
сказали.
5:03.
Okay.
Why would I bread?
He doesn't want to eat bread. Leave the guy alone.
Если не
No, I'm
сказали,
saying before midnight.
Okay, but 6:30 the fast is over. And most people are davening Arvit at 6:30, and then they're going to do Megillat Esther right afterwards. Okay, you make 3 bracha before, and then we make a bracha after. Okay, Tani Esther, on Wednesday we have the mitzvah to give the half shekel coin. We hold 3 half coins, like 3 nickels or half of a dime, 3 quarters, half of 50 cents, 3 50-cent pieces, and then we give a check or money to
All of
tzedakah.
them? How many people in the house?
It depends. If you do it for yourself only, do it for all the members of your house, but you can give a check. You can hold the 3 coins in your hand, say, this is the half shekel coin, and then you give $5 to tzedakah, that covers your whole family.
only for
It's
men.
like what, 3 hours, like $15, yeah?
Yeah, well, it doesn't have to be that much, it's up to you.
It's a thought.
Even $1 is enough. The 3 half coins could be 3 nickels, it's 15 cents.
They're supposed to do it all the men, not the women.
Why not women? You don't
Because
think
they're
women
much-
have to get tzedakah?
Moshe Rabbeinu was collect the Maskeh shekel only for men, not for women.
And therefore,
That's why.
do we give the half shekel coin because of Moshe Rabbeinu or for the korbanot that we give it?
Korbanot.
Korbanot that we give. The women give to the korbanot?
Yeah.
No, probably not. But at any rate, we collect it anyway. Okay. Now, I'm just messing with you tonight. It's Purim. Now, okay, listen to this story. We'll begin with a story, we'll end with a story. But listen to this story. It's an interesting story. The story goes, it's in the Ornet, which is produced by Or Sameach magazine. It says that there was a lady in Israel who had an ozeret. An ozeret is someone who helps clean up the house. Many women have cleaning ladies that come. It's not necessarily a luxury today. Often women work during the week. So therefore, if a cleaning lady comes and helps them to prepare for Shabbos, they deserve it because they work so hard during the week. So she had a cleaning lady from Romania, not a Jewish girl, that worked for her for a year or 2. One day, and then she hadn't seen her for a while, she left. One day she's walking down the street in Mea Shearim. You know where Mea Shearim is, right? I hope so. And she sees this girl, it looks like her cleaning lady, but she's wearing a long dress, long sleeves, like a tichel, like straight out of Mea Shearim. So she goes over to her. This is a Romanian girl. I don't know what a Romanian name is, but let's say her name was Sarah. Let's call her, here it says Valerie. Her name was Valerie. She said, Valerie, look how you're dressed. Did you convert to Judaism? Were you mitgayer? She says, no, not at all. I'm the same. I'm a Romanian. I didn't convert. She says, but look how you're dressed. Why are you dressed this way? So she said the Israeli government is cracking down on illegal immigrants. And if they catch you, they deport you. So, I have to dress like this to blend in. When I dress like this in Mea Shearim, nobody notices me. I look like everybody else.
Camouflage.
Right?
Camouflage.
Yes, camouflage. So this lady said that she found it ironic that 70 years ago, she grew up, her father was in Romania. And in Romania, the Jews dress like the Goyim. So they should blend in so the Nazis shouldn't know who's Jewish. So she said 70 years ago, the Jews dressed like the Romanians.
Opposite.
Today, the Romanians dress like the Jews. It's a very interesting thing. That's Purim. That's Nahapur. You know, how things have changed now that we have the state of Israel and everything else. He says, you know, we used to dress like the Goyim to blend in, and now, could you believe a Goyim want to dress like Jews? You know, it's a very unusual observation. Okay. There's an interesting Gemara. The Gemara is in Chulin, the Kuf Lamed Tes. Listen what the Gemara says. Strange Gemara. The Gemara says, Haman min ha-Torah minayin. Where do we have Haman's name in the Torah? That's the Gemara's question. Haman's name in the Torah. What's the Gemara's answer?
Amin ha'etz.
Hamin ha'etz. Hashem said to Adam and Chava, did you eat from the tree? Hamin, from the tree, is spelled Hey Mem Nun. Haman, same letters. Even though there you could have said Hamon, the mon that they ate, which sounds much more like Haman, but they don't use that. Hamin ha'etz. Okay. Then where it says, where do we have Esther's name in the Torah? So the Gemara says, Va'anochi hastir aster ponai. Hashem says there's going to come a day when you're in exile, and I'm going to hide myself. I'm not going to look at you. I'm going to hide from you. That's Esther. Hide, hidden. Then the Gemara says, where's Mordechai's name in the Torah? So it says that one of the spices was called Mordoror, that the Targum Onkelos translates Mordechaya, like Mordechai. And then the Gemara says, Moshe, where is he in the Torah? I think that's really a strange question, because Moshe is mentioned 1,000 times, 100 times. But that's a different thing. Now, when you stop for a moment, you have to ask yourself a question. Okay, the Gemara wants to know where Haman's name is in the Torah, or Esther, or Mordechai. I don't remember Gemara ever saying, where is Matisyahu's name? Where is Eliyahu Hanavi's name? Where is David HaMelech's name? Where is Shlomo's name? No. Where is Antiochus' name? Where is Achashverosh's name? Nothing. That means there's hundreds, thousands of years of Jewish history. And the Gemara doesn't care where their names are mentioned in the Torah. The Gemara wants to know, where's Haman? Where's Mordechai? Where's Esther in the Torah? So what's so special about Haman, Mordechai, and Esther? That's the problem. Why do those three? We need to find their names in the Torah. Okay. Then the Gemara has another. The Gemara has Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Familiar?
Yes.
Good buddy of yours? Yeah, you're close. You're like brothers? Okay. Did you go to his kever?
Yeah.
Meron? Was there someone outside playing guitar? Of course. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. And they have a yeshiva there, right?
Yeah.
Who builds yeshivas in cemeteries? I don't know, but that's what they do. Okay. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, he says to his students one day in class, he says, why do you think the Jews, during the days of Mordechai and Esther, deserved to be killed? There was a decree that all the Jews should be killed. Gezerah. Why? What did they do? What was their sin? So the student says, we know. What's the answer?
Party.
They ate from the party of Achashverosh. That means they went to the party of Achashverosh. Okay, let's take a break. Party of Achashverosh. First of all, was the food kosher?
No.
Yeah.
100%. The food was 100% kosher.
How would it become if you did? Oh, because of wine.
The wine was kosher also.
The
It had the bedats, it had the vada rabbanim of queens, it had shchitat beit Yosef if you wanted it, yeah, whatever you wanted.
No, nothing.
You had everything, 100% kosher.
Why they did the kosher food? They do, no?
Because Achashverosh wanted the Jews to come, he invited the Jews, and he put Mordechai in charge. So Mordechai made sure the food was kosher. So if the food was kosher, what was the problem with the party? Why was the party such a bad party?
Because you can serve it good.
Because Achashverosh was celebrating a bad thing. Achashverosh calculated that Yirmiyahu said they would be in Galut for 70 years. He made an account that the 70 years had come and gone, and the Jews were still in Galut. So he was celebrating that Hashem forgot about the Jews. And in order to celebrate, he even put on clothes. Whose clothes? The Kohen Gadol. So Achashverosh was the first person to practice Halloween or Purim clothes. He got dressed like the Kohen Gadol. And he brought all the kelim of the Beit HaMikdash. Now, if you're making a party to celebrate Hashem's destruction of the Beit HaMikdash, do Jews belong to that party? No. Even all the kosher food in the world doesn't mean you belong there. There are some parties you really just don't belong. Okay? Now, maybe the Jews weren't sure what to do. Achashverosh invites you to the party. He was a crazy guy. If you didn't go to the party, he could kill you, you know. So I don't know what they didn't know what to do. They went. So the students said to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, that's why they got killed. So Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says, hold on. I understand why the people who came to the party should get killed. The people of Shushan, maybe.
Yeah.
But the whole world? Why should the whole world get killed?
127.
Right? 127 countries, the whole world gets killed because a bunch of people in Shushan went to a party. That's pretty crazy. So, the student said to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, Rabbi, you tell us the answer. What did Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai tell them the answer? When you were in Meron, you didn't ask him, huh? What about you?
I didn't
You
go.
didn't ask him either. He's your buddy and you didn't ask him.
When I'm meeting.
Shushan at the ears, in name Shushan.
Right, so Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai said, 100 years earlier, there was a king even crazier than Achashverosh. His name was Nebuchadnezzar. He's an interesting guy. If you read the book of Daniel, you'll learn more about Nebuchadnezzar. And he made this enormous image, statue, very tall. And we'll see about that in a moment, and he said everybody had to bow to the statue. And if you didn't bow to the statue, he was going to kill you. And they all bowed to the statue. And that's why they deserve to die. Now, the students right away said, but Rebbe, they weren't bowing to the statue as a god. They were faking him out. They were just bowing so they didn't get killed. So he says, yeah, Hashem was only faking them out also. Haman and everything, it was all a fake anyway. Did the Jews actually get killed in the end? No. No one died, so it was all a fake anyway. 3 people did not bow down to that statue. Which 3 people? Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. There was a 4th that didn't bow down, Daniel, but he wasn't there. See, Daniel was very strong, very powerful, very influential. So Nebuchadnezzar sent them on a mission, got him out of the way. But he didn't think Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah could be that strong, but they did. Nebuchadnezzar, by the way, had trained these kids from when they were small kids. He even changed their names. He gave them Babylonian names. What were the names of Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah? You see, I bring this out to you because it's important to learn Navi. Kids right away learn Mishnah, Gemara, very important, but I think it's important to learn Navi. And I've gone through Navi many, many times, memorized as much as I could of it, and I've taught it. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And Daniel's name was Belshazzar. That was the names. Okay. Anyway, Daniel comes back, and he finds out that the Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah didn't bow down. They were thrown into the fiery furnace. They survived. Then they seem to have passed away or they disappeared. But Daniel was very angry about this statue. So he said to Nebuchadnezzar, how could you do this to the Jews, make them bow down to the statue? You know that our religion is important to us. So Nebuchadnezzar says to Daniel, you would have bowed down also. The statue talks. What do you mean the statue talks? He says, go to the statue. And Daniel goes to the statue. The statue says, Anochi Hashem Elokecha, I'm the Lord your God who took you out of Egypt. Talking statue. So Daniel says to the guards, he says, I want to lift, the statue is very tall. I want you to build a scaffold. Lift me up to the top. I want to give the statue a big kiss. Like a big kiss. So they said, oh boy, Daniel, big kiss, wow. Lifts him all the way up, and when he gets up to the mouth, he sees inside the mouth the golden tzitz hazahav that says Kodesh Hashem. So he goes over to give mouth to mouth, and he blows out, and he pulls it out, and he takes it away, and the statue stops talking. And by the time Daniel comes down, the whole statue begins to crumble, and collapses and falls into 1,000 pieces, which really drove the Nebuchadnezzar crazy, really drove him really nuts. There were many times that he was totally off the wall. He lived like an animal. I mean, the stories are amazing. But the Torah Temimah, he says in all this, he says, hold on here. I want to understand something. They went to the party of Achashverosh. So they ate where they weren't supposed to eat. Where does it say in the Torah that if you eat something you're not supposed to eat, the punishment is death? I eat shellfish, I eat a lobster. Not supposed to eat lobster, it's treif. I'm not punishable by death. Where does it say in the Torah that if you eat something you cannot eat, the punishment is death? So the Gemara says,
Pasha Bereshit.
Hamin ha'etz, did you eat from the tree? That's why Haman's name is from there. What happened by the tree? Adam and Chava ate from the tree. What was their punishment? Death. Then, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says, not only did they die, but even their children, their grandchildren, who didn't eat from the tree at all. So that's why all the Jews of the world are Chayav Misa. So that's how he connected it all. But it goes even deeper. Look at Adam and Chava. Let's think for a moment. They were in Garden of Eden, Gan Eden. They could eat from any tree. There were hundreds of trees, vegetables. There were so many trees and vegetables they could have eaten for years and never missed this one tree. And yet, the first day, they ate from the tree they weren't supposed to eat. It's human nature. When someone says to you, this is no, but everything else you can have, what do you want most of all?
No.
The no. Right? That's the way it is. Look at Mordechai. The whole world bows to Haman. Everybody bows to Haman. All the rabbis, all the Jews, the Sanhedrin, everybody. There's one Jew who doesn't bow to Haman. Mordechai. So you tell Haman, forget about it. He's crazy. Put him in an asylum. What do you need him for? What difference does it make? 6 billion people bow to you. One person doesn't. Why can't you just forget about it? No.
Bother him.
Killed him. To the point where he wanted so much to kill Mordechai, he got killed himself. What does that tell you? It tells you that a person has to appreciate what they have and not miss what they don't have.
Yes.
Adam and Chava got destroyed because of one tree. Haman got destroyed because of one person. Really? You couldn't get by? It had to be that way? So the first thing they tell you, the Torah Temimah says, is that the Gemara wants to understand the whole Purim story. Like none of it makes sense. So where's Haman in the Torah? Where do we see this Haman in the Torah? Hamin ha'etz. That explains everything. That tells me about Haman. It tells me about the food. It tells me about the party. It tells me everything. Then the Gemara wants to know, so what is the right way? The right way is, we say in English, a person should live under the radar. You don't want to be on the radar. Who lived under the radar? Esther. Esther was fantastic. She never opened her mouth. She never said who she was. She never told people her name. She never told her parents' name. She never told them where she was born. Didn't tell her country. Esther was a mystery. You live in a community. You don't want people jealous of you. People are always jealous. And jealousy is one of the worst midos. So how can you get by to avoid jealousy? You need to be more like Esther. Esther just kept her business private. She came from Binyamin, he kept things private. She came from Rachel, Rachel kept secrets and kept things private. She came from Shaul HaMelech, Shaul HaMelech kept things private. So Esther was the one who kept things private. But then, they want to know, but how should you act towards other Jews? So he says, there you have to be like Mordechai. Because Mordechai was like the ketores, the spices. And although all the spices smelled very nice, there was one spice that didn't smell so nice. When you mixed it with everybody else, it smelled great. So Mordechai understood some Jews smell great. Some Jews are not the nicest of Jews. But the right way to do is mix them all together and deal with everyone. never exclude anyone. So Mordechai teaches us a little bit of how to deal with the world at large and everybody in the world. Okay, let's go a little bit further. The Chidah says as follows. He says, Mordechai would always sit right by the gate of the king. And who used to pass by that gate every day was Haman. And Mordechai would not get up for Haman, and that got Haman furious. Haman was angry like you can't believe. So Mordechai's buddies, members of the Sanhedrin, the Gedolei Hador of that generation, they all came to Mordechai. The Chidah says they came to Mordechai, and they said to Mordechai, Mordechai, what are you doing? Why do you have to sit at the door that Haman has to go through? Sit someplace else. This is a big city. Sit by the base medrash. Why does Haman have to see you every single day? In English, we have a saying, don't poke the bear. A bear is sleeping. So what do? You take a stick and you poke. What do you think the bear is going to do? He's going to eat you, you know. Don't poke the bear. You know, don't poke the bear. You know, there's an old joke of, a person can't run faster than a bear. Okay? So there are two people running from the bear. A bear is chasing them. There's two people running. And one has a smile on his face and one is scared. So they ask the guy who's smiling, what are you so happy about? He says, because you see the guy behind me? I'm faster than him. The bear's going to get him. He's not going to get me, you know. He's going to get him. He's going to be happy, you know. You don't have to run faster than the bear. You just have to run faster than the guy next to you. You know, that's all you got to do. You got to run faster than the guy next to you. So the Chidah says that they asked Mordechai, what are you doing? Just find another place to sit. Leave Haman alone. We don't need these problems. So what did Mordechai say? What was Mordechai's answer? Mordechai's answer was, my neshama is a Gilgul from Yaakov Avinu. And Haman, who's Amalek, came from Esau. When Yaakov met Esau the first time, he bowed 7 times. And that was a big mistake. I have to fix that mistake. So my great-great-grandfather bowed to Esau, so my job is not to bow. You know, when you get through these spooky things, you know, when someone says to you they're a Gilgul and this and that, you know, okay. So, they said to Mordechai, they said to Mordechai, why can you not be like everybody else? You think Yaakov bowed to Esau? He didn't bow to Esau, he bowed to the Shekhinah.
Yes.
Okay, he wasn't bowing to Esau. It was fake, it was a show. So Mordechai says, this whole thing is a show. You know, that was his answer. Okay, we're back to the show again. Everything's a show. So then they said, Mordechai, why can't you just play nice? Everybody's bowing. Didn't Yaakov bow? Didn't all Yaakov's children bow? So Mordechai says, now my great-grandfather didn't bow. Who was his great-grandfather? No. Binyamin. Why didn't Binyamin bow to Esau? He wasn't born. So he says, my great-grandfather didn't bow to Esau. I should start now. You know, my grandfather didn't bow. Nothing worked. Nothing worked. No matter what they did, no matter how they spoke to Mordechai, it didn't make a difference. Everything that happened just came over and over and over. Now, let's go a little bit further. Megillat Esther. Is it part of Tanakh? Tanakh means Torah, Nevi'im, Ksuvim. There's a total of 24 books. The 5 books of the Torah. Then you have Yehoshua, Shoftim, Shmuel, Aleph, Shmuel Beis, Malachim Aleph, Malachim Beis. Is Esther part of Tanakh?
No.
Yes.
Yes.
It's part of Ksuvim.
Yes.
It's one of the 5 Megillot. That's why we read it. And we read it with a bracha. Hanukkah has a Megillah, Megillat Antiochus. We don't read it. Okay? Esther is part of Tanakh. Okay. Was it easy for Esther to become part of Tanakh? No.
Not easy.
Not easy. She wrote the book of Esther, and she went to the Chachamim. The Yerushalmi brings us down. There were 85 elders in the Moetzes Gedolei HaTorah, and 3 of them were Nevi'im. And they were debating, we have 23 books, should we put in a 24th? And most of them voted no. No. Esther wrote up Megillat Esther, and she went back again the next year, and she says, please, I want this book to be part of Tanakh. And they said, why? So she says, it was written by Ruach HaKodesh. Because it says in the book of Esther that Haman said to himself, how would Esther know what Haman said to herself? She had Ruach HaKodesh. Esther and Mordechai had Ruach HaKodesh. Esther was one of the Nevi'im. There were 7 Nevi'ot. Esther was one of them. Okay. So they said to Esther, but it's a history book. It's all about the Persian history. And if we write down what happened, the way you wrote it, people are going to laugh at Achashverosh. You can't make fun of a king. Make fun of a king, it creates jealousy. And then the Jews come out on top. The world doesn't want a book that the Jews come on top. So Esther says, you're making a mistake. In the Megillah it says that the whole story has already been written in the history books of Poras and Modai. The Persian history books already have the story. So whatever the story is, everybody knows the story. They can read it in the library. This book has secrets to it that Hashem gave us, that Bnei Yisrael, the Jewish people, need for survival. Please put it into Tanakh. And in the end they did. They made Esther as part of one of the books, the 24th book, and it became, because it was written by Ruach HaKodesh, they put it in there. Now, the interesting part is that after Esther was written, there were 2 books that were written, Ezra and Nehemiah. Who were Ezra and Nehemiah? That means when the Jewish people came back from Persia to build the second Beit HaMikdash, who led them? Ezra. Ezra led them. Was Ezra a Kohen, Levi, or Yisrael? Just curious. He was a Kohen. Ezra was a Kohen. And Ezra wrote the Torah, and our Sifrei Torah have the handwriting of Ezra. He developed the script, Ksav HaShudis, and how the words are written in the Torah. As a matter of fact, they bring down that there were 3 Sifrei Torah that Ezra wrote. And all the Sefer Torahs were copied from those Torahs. And the Rambam found one of the Torahs of Ezra HaSofer. And the Rambam made a party. He was ecstatic. He was thrilled because he found one of the Sifrei Torah of Ezra. It was one of the famous stories of the Rambam, that the Rambam had the zchut to have one of the original Torahs that Ezra wrote. So Ezra and Nehemiah bring back the Jewish people. Who gave them permission to come back? The son of Esther and Achashverosh, Darius II. How many times do you think Ezra and Nehemiah in their book talk about Esther, Mordechai,
0.
Purim, Darius? The answer is 0. Not one time. So they all want to know why not. You're only here because of the goodness of Esther. So why don't you talk about it? If you read the book of Ezra and Nehemiah, they're dealing with a horrible situation in Israel. What was the situation? Intermarriage. Most of the Jews that were left behind during these 70 years married non-Jewish people. And Ezra and Nehemiah wanted them to either convert and be part of the Jewish people or separate. So he dealt with that problem. You know what the last person he wanted to mention was? Esther. Because if he mentioned Esther's name, you know what people would say to him? Esther married a non-Jewish guy. And look, she had a son who built the second Beit HaMikdash. And she wrote a sefer that's part of Tanakh. And she had a cousin, Mordechai, who was part of the Sanhedrin. So how bad could this be? Esther is proof that it's not such a bad thing. So the last thing they did was mention Esther's name. They didn't mention Esther at all. Now, why did Mordechai let Esther go to Achashverosh? The short answer is he didn't have a choice, right? She was taken. Did he try to get her out? 100 different ways. He had signs that the future of the Jewish people would be in Esther's hands. Even so, he told Esther to do the things that Achashverosh would hate. Achashverosh is going to ask you where you're from, don't tell him. Who your parents are, don't tell him. What's the country you have, don't tell him. What did Achashverosh do? He got so angry, he brought in a whole bunch of new women, saying, we're going to replace you, Esther. Good, replace me. Mordechai gave Esther advice how to get herself thrown out of the job. Did it work in the end? No. Esther was going to save the Jewish people because that was Hashem's plan. But it was not without Mordechai trying to get her thrown out. And it didn't work. No matter what he did, it didn't work. But he tried very hard. But Esther created, was a situation that was out of her control. It was Hashem's plan for whatever the reasons were, beyond our comprehension. That's what Esther did. Now, there's a famous Gemara of Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva was giving a class, and people were sleeping. Gemara says people were sleeping. Now, I don't know why anybody would be sleeping if Rabbi Akiva gives a class. It'd be pretty scary. Imagine if the Chofetz Chaim was giving a class. How many people do you think would fall asleep? Nobody would fall asleep. Rabbi Akiva, they were sleeping. Somebody says that he was giving a class on such a high level, people couldn't understand it. When you don't understand something, what the speaker is saying, you fall asleep. But that's what it is. So he wanted to wake everybody up. So he said, how many countries did Esther rule? 127. How come she ruled 127 countries? Because Sarah lived 127 years. Okay, Avraham lived to be 175. She could have ruled 175 countries. There's a joke they say that the Satmar Rebbe, his name was Yoel. Yoel, if you add up the letters, Yud Vav is 16, Aleph makes 17, and Lamed makes 30. So it's 47.
94.
So, right? What?
1947.
No, it's 47. So when people got called up to the Torah in Satmar, and they would make a donation, 47, like Yoel, the Rebbe's name, 47. So he would say to people, my mother used to call me Yolesh. Yolesh has a shin at the end, is 347. Yoel is my official name, but my mother called me Yolesh. Maybe you want to give $347, instead of just 47. So, it is what it is. What happened over here, it happened. 127, what does that have to do with anything? So there's a medrash. The medrash is, and there's no good answer to the medrash. The medrash says that Esther, when she was taken to the house of Achashverosh, davened, called out to Hashem, and she said, my great-great-grandmother Sarah was taken to the house of Paro. Jewish girls have been taken to the kings before. How many days was Sarah in Paro's house? One day. That night he got plagued, smitten, and he got rid of her right away. Sent her right back to Abraham. She says, Sarah was in the house of Paro one day. Why am I still in the house of Achashverosh? Just the prep took a year. She was there for 30, 40 years. So she davened. Esther davened. They talk about the power of davening and how davening changes and how people daven all the time. Esther davened and said to Hashem, I don't get it. Rabbi Akiva compares me to Sarah. Sarah lived 127 years. I have 127 countries I'm the queen over. Sarah was in Paro's house one day. Why am I here 30, 40 years? Now that's a very powerful, question that Esther asked Hashem.
How would answer?
There was no answer. There is no answer. There could not be an answer. The answer was what it was. The significance of it and why it was, and she had to fix the sins of Shaul HaMelech and her family. There's so much of things that happen to us that have nothing to do with us. A lot of the things I told you that happened to us could be because we're fixing a mistake that happened 100 years ago or 200 years ago. So we go through certain challenges that we don't have before. Rabbi Moshe Meir Weiss, he brings down an interesting custom. He says that at his Seder table on Pesach, he sings Ma'osur. Right? Ma'osur is a song we sing on Chanukah. He says, why does he sing Ma'osur? Because if you look at the different paragraphs, most of it apply to Pesach. It talks about Geula. Well, Pesach is the time that we got out of Mitzrayim, and Pesach is the time we're going to have Geula in the future. It talks about Kriyat Yamsuf. That happened on Pesach. It talks about Purim and Haman getting killed on, right? And that happened on Pesach.
3 days wasn't.
Everybody thinks Haman got killed on Purim. He didn't. He got killed on Pesach. When you sit at the Pesach table, it's Haman's yortzeit. It's also Avram's yortzeit.
3-day fasting also.
Right. Everything happened on Pesach. So he says the whole Ma'osur song almost applies to Pesach. 3 of the 4 paragraphs. I mean, it doesn't apply. But even Hanukkah. Hanukkah is about the dedication of the Beis Hamikdash. When was the Mishkan officially dedicated? Rosh Chodesh Nisan, right around Pesach time. So he says the whole song begins. But there is something part of davening that's modeled after Purim. Havdalah was created based on the Purim story. Did you know that? No. Let's go figure it out. In Havdalah, we say, La Yehudim, or where does that come from? From the Megillah. We say that on Motzei Shabbat. Why do we say it on Motzei Shabbat? Because Vashti made the Jewish girls work on Shabbat. So when Vashti died, came Motzei Shabbat, the girls were all celebrating. They kept Shabbat. So Motzei Shabbat Havdalah was a joyous occasion. Then Yavan, the Greeks, the Persian Medina was known as the darkness, the age of darkness. We ran out of memory? Or running out of memory?
It's still clear.
Okay. Was the age of darkness. Mi'afela la'ora. We went from dark to light. So what do we do on Havdalah? We light a candle. And we do Borei Moreo H. Then we smell. What do we smell? Besamim. More the roars. Besamim. And Hasidim, they only smell, not only do they smell spices, but they have hadassim. They have a special holder for hadassim. Do you do that also? Sfaradim, not really.
Yeah, we do.
We do. So hadassim. So here we have light, comes from the fact that the Persia, the whole time was darkness.